Okay, so everyone take a quick look at these lights above our heads. Um, this light actually, with the simple flip of a switch, any of us is actually able to harness the power of artificial lighting. And this technology predates even our great-grandparents' generation. And contrary to popular belief, the light bulb was not invented by Thomas Edison. It was actually invented by a man who went by the name of Nikola Tesla. Now, most people don't know who Nikola Tesla is in our time because he was actually quite reclusive throughout his life, and because of this, not much is known about him. But although he was reclusive as an inventor, he was not inactive. As a person, he was not inactive as an inventor, and this is very important. A lot of the modern day gadgets we have today actually has its foundation from a lot of Tesla's early patents and early discoveries. So without Nikola Tesla, I don't think the world we live in today would be so integrated with the technology that we're so familiar with. And he was a man that's actually really interesting to me. When I started doing research on him, I didn't know who he was, and it was really hard to find information on him because he was so obscure. But as I dug deeper on the internet, that really was my only source, I actually found a lot of information on him, and it made me interested in him just because of what he's achieved throughout his life. So, like I said before, he was a man that was relatively unknown. He was underappreciated during his time and now almost completely unknown in ours. So I'm going to first start off by giving a brief history on who this man was and dig into his personal life a little bit. Then I'm going to move on to explaining what kind of ambition drove Nikola Tesla. And then I'm going to finish up really quick with my last point, which is his most ambitious invention. So first and foremost, let me start off with a brief history on Nikola Tesla. He was a Serbian American. He was born on July 10th, 1856. He was an educated individual, and he actually went to several different colleges, one of which was the Graz University of Technology. But he actually dropped out of this one. He never graduated. And his primary fields were that of electrical and mechanical engineering, and his career took its start when he moved to Budapest in 1880, where he worked at a telegraph company as an electrical engineer. And then 4 years later, he moved to America in 1884, and he actually worked for Thomas Edison. And this was when the light bulb was, he invented the AC current, which led to the eventual invention of the light bulb. Moving on to his more personal life a little bit, his colleagues, according to a website, topsynergy.com, he was actually really involved in his work, but he was also a really passionate man with emotional interests. He wanted a significant other, but he didn't know how to balance the two. So his colleagues and his peers ultimately said, the decision they made on Tesla was that he ultimately chose his work rather than finding a significant other, because his one true love was his research, and he felt that if he found another person, it would just detract from his time, and he wouldn't be able to achieve what he ultimately wanted to achieve. So now that we know a little bit about Tesla's history, I'm going to move on to my second point, which is that his ambition, or what kind of ambition he had. According to a newspaper article published by the Richmond Times on January 13th, 1901, Tesla was working in his laboratory one day, and his communications equipment picked up some sort of anomaly. Now, what this anomaly was really open to interpretation because no one knew where it came from. So naturally, Nikola Tesla jumped to a theory that it could possibly be a communication effort from Mars, from life on Mars. And all his colleagues and peers looked at him and said, no, this is totally absurd. He actually received a lot of scrutiny and was put under a lot of scrutiny for believing in such crazy ideas. But Nikola Tesla stood firm in what he believed in. He actually said in a statement, imagination is what drives progress, but only if that progress is put into good efforts. And I believe he really exemplified this. He believed in what he believed in because it had not been disproven yet, and I feel that this is really important. He had an ambition that no one else had, that no one else around him had. He possessed something that was unique to him, and that's what ultimately drove him to my third point, which is that of the Warming-Plus Tower. Now, Nikola Tesla had a theory that our Earth conducted electricity naturally, and this theory was later made into fact through laboratory experiments. And as soon as he realized this, he sought to create the Warming-Plus Tower, which is this right here. And what this tower sought to do was provide free energy for the world. And how it would do this is, from a single location, his tower would collect all this natural energy, and upon collecting it, he could divert this energy anywhere around the world through means of wiring in the ground. Now, this was a really generous thing to do, but funding for the completion of this tower was never seen through because it was funded by J.P. Morgan, a really big banker at the time also, and they said that it wasn't lucrative. If he was able to provide an unlimited amount of power to an unlimited amount of people, there was no money to be made from it, so why should they do this? And after J.P. Morgan cut funding, Tesla tried to look for other benefactors, but to no avail. No one wanted to help him because they all saw it the same way. So, to finish up really quick, I talked about a brief history on Nikola Tesla, and then I explained his ambitions, what really drove him, and what he sought to do for the world with the Wardenclyffe Tower. So I really hope the next time you guys walk into an empty room, there's no light, you turn on the switch, and you don't run into that desk or whatever. You remember Nikola Tesla, you remember what he sought to achieve, not just for himself, but everyone around him. Thank you.